All right, time to talk to the legendary Todd Rundgren. And Todd, by the way, of course, leading bands like Nas and Utopia, as well as charting with solo hits as Hello, It's Me, Can We Still Be Friends, and Bang the Drum All Day. Todd has also produced more than 50 records for other artists, including Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell, now ranked as the 5th biggest selling album of all time on August 26th. Which it already passed. Todd releases an evening with Todd Rundgren live at Ridgefield on CD, vinyl, DVD, Blu-ray. You can find it on Amazon, iTunes, all that good stuff. Let's bring him aboard. The legend that is Todd Rundgren. Todd, how are you doing this morning?
How you doing?
I cannot.
The legend that is Big O.
That's. I doubt that. That maybe in my own mind or something along those lines. Let me ask you.
I don't know. When I hear Big O, I think Otis Redding myself.
There you go. See, and I do sports all day, so everybody thinks Oscar Robertson. So it's Robertson. So yeah, it's one of those deals. Or when you talk to women, they're just saying, "Can you give me the Big O?" That's what it is.
Okay.
Right there you go. That's what it's all about.
Now I get it.
Now there you go.
It all makes sense now. Yeah.
Yeah. The wife gave me the nickname. All right, Todd. Here we go. Enough with the comedy. All right. All right. Now, let me ask you, you're sitting there, you're producing Bat Out of Hell. At what point did you know that album was going to be a monster?
At no point did we know that album. At most points, we were wondering whether we would ever get the project finished. And then when we did get it finished, we actually didn't have a label. It was actually financed by Bearsville Records, the label I was on, but only on a speculative basis. They had a right of first refusal on the record, which they took. In other words, they refused it. And then it took, I think, 6 months to find a label who would put it out.
Wow.
And then maybe another 6 months to break the record after that. So at the moment that I had finished the record, I thought this is some giant tax write-off at this point. Certainly, Diamond and Meatloaf had belief in the project, but it was hard to find other people who had the equal amount of belief.
Did you have belief in the project? Like, okay, you're recording it, you're producing it, you finished it. Did it grow on you at that point? Because I got to admit, Todd, that's an album I've heard 100 times, and I love it from beginning to end. So I'm just wondering, did it grow on you? Did you buy into it? Or from the get-go, you were like, because you just said a write-off, you weren't believing in it?
Well, I got involved in the project. I got contacted by a friend of mine. He said, there's these guys, Simon and Meatloaf. I knew who Meatloaf was because I had seen the Rocky Horror Show.
Sure.
But he said they're having a lot of trouble finding a producer. They have a label, but most producers are turning them down, as it turns out, because the songs are so long, because the singer is so fat. All these other, excuses, but nobody else would touch the record. And I saw them, they demoed the record for me in a rehearsal studio with two background singers, Steinman on the piano and Meatloaf. And they essentially did what most people have come to remember as the original Meatloaf show. They did that for me, just the four of them.
Wow.
Did almost the whole record and acted it out and everything. Paradise by the Dashboard Light, the video. I was the first one ever to see that. They did it in rehearsal. And in my mind, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I'm going to do this. And the reason why I'm going to do this is because Bruce Springsteen is the biggest thing in music right now, and I want to do a spoof of Bruce Springsteen. I want it to be everything Bruce Springsteen is, but with a big fat guy in front of it. And so what got me through the record was thinking that this was a Bruce Springsteen spoof the entire time. And by the time I'm getting to the end of it, I think maybe there's no market for a Bruce Springsteen spoof. But as it turned out, there was a huge market for such a thing.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, so what is the most satisfying song you've ever written?
These absolutes are really difficult for me. I've written 300 songs, and that's like saying, what was the best meal you had in the last 300 meals or something? It's just how you think of one, and then you realize, oh, maybe it was that one. Oh, maybe it's the other one. Those kinds of things that never cross your mind, like playing favorites with your songs. Maybe people do because there's a comfort level in them or something like that. But for me, the only objective criterion I can use is like, what song made me the most money? And that would be Bang the Drum All Day.
All right. Now, let me ask you.
That part of it was very satisfying. The song itself was just like, I whipped it off in like 20 minutes or something.
Really? That's how long it took you to write Bang on the Drum All Day? That is awesome.
Writing is essentially the hardest part of making a song.
Mm-hmm.
And in one sense, I didn't write the song because I was in my home in Woodstock. I got my studio in the barn right next door. I'm in the middle of making a record, and suddenly, in the early hours of the morning, I wake up, I'm dreaming this song, and I wake up with this song in my head, the kind of song I would never actually write in my conscious state, and I go down to the studio and I capture what I can of it, and that turns out to be Bang the Drum All Day.
Wow.
And I, to this day, have no idea why that song popped into my head. I am not a reggae artist or a ska artist, and I wasn't thinking, I got to come up with some sort of ska song to complete my record. It just popped into my head in my sleep. I recorded it. Didn't think it would ever be anything, and for the purposes of the record that it was on, it wasn't anything. The record label never released it as a single. It just became a radio hit, like a Friday drive time hit,
like a cult classic.
Particularly because of the line, bang on that drum like it was the boss's head.
Yeah.
It represented like cultural frustration or something like that. And then it migrated to sporting events. It started to become like the victory song for like the Green Bay Packers every time they scored a touchdown. And then the St. Louis Rams started using it. And then hockey games started using it. And then we started to get calls to use it in commercials and things like that. Eventually it became the theme song for Carnival Cruise Lines. That's when it like paid off more than any song I ever wrote.
All right, before I ask you about this new CD, DVD, one more thing I got to ask you, because the record industry obviously has, for a nicer word, shafted a lot of folks out there. How much money do you think they left on the table for you for all these years and all the records that you didn't get for your royalties?
I never think about that stuff. I have management. Management always worries about that stuff. So, a lot of people, musicians, kind of get themselves, or for some reason find themselves in a position where they have to, do their own management and worry about the finances. I became a record producer pretty early in my career.
Mm-hmm.
And I made so much money as a record producer, when it came to my own records, I never thought about
interesting
surviving on them or having to sell enough records, to build a career around. It started out almost as a sideline, accidentally became successful, and then I had to learn how to be a performer after that. So I might still just be a record producer today, except for some quirk that, that hello, it's me quirk, that essentially forced me to try and become a serious artist. And in every sense of the word. And otherwise, I had to learn to perform live as well. But it all followed through my entire career that I never thought But I'm making my own records to have to be successful, or otherwise I won't have any money. I was always producing other people's records for money, making my own records for fun.
That is awesome.
And
that is
to this day, that's pretty much the way I think.
That is awesome. Tell me a little bit about Live at Ridgefield, the CD. Wait a minute. I think we lost him here. Wait a minute. Yep. I think you know what? All right, this is what we'll do. I think we'll let's take a break because I think we lost him here, and we'll come back with more of your phone calls, your texts, your tweets. That was Todd Rundgren. Check out An Evening with Todd Rundgren live at Ridgefield on CD, vinyl, DVD, Blu-ray. You can get it on Amazon.com and iTunes, all that good stuff. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more right here on Miami Sports Radio 560 WQAM.